Hello dear viewers and welcome back to the channel. Maverick here with another episode of Astra Lost in Space. So, last episode, things start getting interesting, right? We get to finally know about the entire situation in regards to the kids here and their parents, right? So it turns out that they weren't their parents, they're actually their originals, and all these children are basically clones of their originals, just having a life of their own, right? Presumably to be used later for total memory transfer or whatnot, total brain transfer, and so their original host could continue to live on using a new body. So they got that on their hand right now, but even more interestingly, it's revealed that Polina's Earth is not actually the students' home planet, right? Which is actually called Astra. Now, this is something that I feel like has been brewing for quite a while now, so I wasn't that surprised. Here's the fundamental question, though. What exactly is causing this discrepancy? There's lots of theories. You guys have also said a lot of them. Let's quickly run down the list. There's my favorite theory, which is this is an alternate universe, right, in terms of the multiverse. So perhaps they, I don't know, fell into some sort of wormhole or whatnot, and we'll explain it later when we get there, right? But maybe through some kind of method they got to another universe, one that's really similar to to Polina's, but not quite. Or there's also the possibility that she's simply very, very, very far from home, maybe in another galaxy, maybe lots of galaxies over, presumably also through a wormhole or something, and they just happen to also develop life that's similar to humans, maybe. Although that one definitely seems a bit less plausible. There's also the possibility that perhaps she was in hibernation, or cryosleep, for much longer than was originally shown, and so during that time, maybe original Earth was destroyed, humanity expanded, and they lost records of Earth. Now, this one actually requires even a bit more mental gymnastics. So, all in all, I feel like the most plausible theory here is the alternate universe part, and so that's what I will place my bets on. Is it true or not? Am I right? Let's get into the episode and find out. Alrighty, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. I think these three are the most... Well, I guess technically maybe, like history was rewritten. Oh, I guess no opening this episode either. Well, that's... Huh. It still looks very much like Earth. Yeah. If... Well, then again, that doesn't entirely look like Earth. Hmm. She does seem Russian. She knows her history. Good idea. I seem to recall though that they had their Great War end of the resolution was around 1960 uh, when they were talking about Charles's home nation, home country. Huh. Or is it a case of rewritten history? Them talking about it like this. Yeah, trying to hide history. Oh, it was World War III. Okay. Hmm. Or is this a case of, sort of an alternate universe, but alternate timelines also? Yeah. Hey, no countries, no religion. Might also eradicate war. Hmm. Okay, okay. It's looking more and more like a multiverse kind of situation, and Polina is from another timeline. Really? Hmm. Maybe they should find some miners, an atomic bomb, try to land on the asteroid. Ah. Oh, you guys were the ones that developed this. Okay, so maybe inadvertently, these wormholes instead allowed them to transverse between different multiverses. Wait, what? So it is a case of... So it is a case of hiding history? Oh, that was Earth? Hmm. Hmm.
2067年、2057年の隕石衝突の年に移住が完了したとしても、たった6年しか経ってない。
Yeah.
アストラがどんなに地球に似た惑星だったとしても、開拓にはもっと長い年月がかかるはずだわ。何かオイラたちが知らない秘密があるんすかね。ありえない話でもね、大人たちは嘘をついてる。兄貴はそう言ってた。
Hmm. あ like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like
近づいてくる。近づいてくる。に決まってんじゃないですか。急。
is he trying to figure out who is... Oh.
大事な話だ。
Hmm. Got it. Oh, and they're not gonna let us know what they talked about? Okay. Well, they're up to something. So I guess they're just gonna skip the entire exploration part? I'm still sorry. I'm still thinking about like what we just learned here. I mean, I can't possibly think that all the adults are in on this. Like, how is that even supposed to work? What is up with these temporal discrepancies? Alright, I should probably focus on what's going on here. Because romance is budding. Oh. Oh, meeting the parents already? Okay. So I guess something did happen during their little talk? Mm-hmm.
アストラにはおそらく帰れる。ただ気がかりなのは視覚のことだ。今の俺たちには仲間以上の絆がある。視覚もこの絆を大切に感じてると思う。ずっと行動を起こさないのがその証拠だ。誰も視覚をはっきりさせようとしないのも絆があるからだ。考えなくていい。このまま何事もなく帰り着くなら、もともと視覚はいなかったということで。
The sphere? Oh. So it doesn't scoop up anything else? Hmm?
消えた。
何があったんですか、カナダさん。
船に戻ろう。
Hmm.
視覚はこの惑星で抹殺を決行する気だ。その後アストラ号で自分だけ帰るつもりでいる。俺は視覚が誰か知ってる。
Really?
奴は俺が気づいてることを知らない。明日こっちから仕掛けてやる。対決だ。
Shars? Maybe?
ザック、シャルズ、二人だけに話す。昨日俺はあの球体に襲われた。なんだって。そっか、視覚が。ああ、奴はここで全員をやる気だ。だからやられる前にこっちからやる。犯人が誰か分かってるのか。ウルガー、まさか。ウルガーなのか。ああ、でも確証がない。だからこれから奴を罠にはめる。ちょっと待て、なぜウルガーが。わけは後で話す。今は時間がない。話を聞いてくれ。
This is a double. This is a double.
惑星マクパで機体に飲み込まれた。俺たちが放出された出口が移住に使われたワームホールだったとして、じゃあ入り口はなぜマクパに、そしてビラバースに現れたのか。視覚はワームホールを持ち運べるのか。そうだ。仮にそうだとして、なぜ今になって抹殺を再開したんだ。アストラに帰るつもりじゃなかったのか。生きる確率を上げるために俺たちに協力してきたが、ここからアストラまではそう遠くない。抹殺を完了して自分だけ帰ろうとしてるんだ。ウルガーを拘束すれば危機は回避できるんじゃないのか。そう簡単にはいかねえよ。奴は武器を2つ持ってる。球体か。作戦はあるのか。行動を予測してみたんだ。昨日は俺一人を狙ってきた。全員を一度にやるのはリスクが高いと踏んだんだろう。そこを逆に狙う。シャルズ、ウルガーと2人で探索に行ってくれるか。おとりになるってこと。それって。まあ聞けって。俺とザックが後を。
I somehow think this is
俺が昨日逃げ込んだ南の洞窟がいい。この3人だけつながるようにヘルメット
a trap
位置や距離を確認しながら誘導するんだ。
for the real culprit.
その瞬間俺たちが背後から取り押さえる。そんなにうまくいくか。勝算はある。 していれば激れる。それに奴は今まで3回球体を出してるけど、どれも未遂に終わった。次は先に銃を使って確実に殺そうとするだろう。だからすぐに撃てないように銃に細工をしておいた。
つまり銃が撃てないことに慌てた一瞬、隙が生まれると。
うーん。
キャプテンを信じるよ。洞窟に入ったぞ。
そのまま道なりに進め。発光植物のおかげで中は明るいはずだ。血も入った。もっとウルガーとの距離を保て。近づきすぎるなよ。
広い場所に出た。食料採集をするふりをしながら警戒を続ける。
シャルス、中止だ。
どうした？
トラブル発生だ。ヒトリーから連絡が入った。ウニが行方不明だ。
うん。
ちゃんが。
みんなで探す。お前もすぐに戻れ。作戦は中止だ。
わかった。
球体を解除しろ。やっぱりお前が死角だったんだな。シャルス。
Yep. I knew it.
この装置で球体の操作を。
どういうことだ、カナタ。
球体を出すところを見た。操作装置も奪った。死角はお前だ、シャルス。なんでお前が。
この銃は細工なんかされてねえ。いつでも撃てるぜ。
ウルガーも俺も協力者だ。
Yeah, that was like way too.
だったってわけか。いや、死角をはめるための。
その通りだ。
It proves that Kanata actually has brains as well, not just brawn.
作戦を知らされてなかったのは僕だけか。それは寂しいね。
ごめんなさい、シャルスさん。でも私、まだ信じてますから。そうよ、シャルス。何かの間違いなんでしょ。シャルスくん。
Although I am curious.
どうして僕だとわかる？
シャルスさん。
マクパで球体から逃げてる時のことを思い出したんだ。一斉殺処分が目的なら、死角はそれを見届ける必要がある。つまり、一番最後まで残っていたのが死角だ。
それが僕だと？まさかあの混乱した中で最後に飲み込まれた人間を覚えて
He doesn't, but Aris remembers.
映画でもしていたわけでもあるまいし。そうか。
ああ。アリエスが覚えてた。
まったく、間違ってたらどうするつもりだったんだ。
シャルスさん、否定してください。
言い訳も思いつかないよ。
何でもいいから。シャルスさんが死角だったなんて。この中の誰であろうと。
But some.
いつも私に優しくしてくださいましたよね。生物に詳しくて、料理がお上手で、いつもみんなをサポート。
I think his reason for being the enemy
ここまで
probably has everything to do with Aris. Like his.
使命が。
俺たちはクローンで、オリジナルがお前に実行役をやらせた。
No.
そうだな。
ああ、全部君たちの言う。これはクローン犯罪を隠蔽するため。一斉殺処分計画。任務は簡単なことだったんだ。マクパでスイッチを押して全員を宇宙へ送る。犯人の僕も死ぬ。
でも球体を出すのが少し早すぎたみたいですね。全員クラストスーツを脱ぐ前だったし、ヘルメットもつけてしまった。
そうだね。でも僕はスーツを着たまま実行したかったんだ。宇宙を眺めながら死にたかったから。
けど、船を見つけてしまった。それは想定外のことだったのね。
ああ、だから船を発見してアリエスを助けた後、通信室を調べるふりをして部品を抜き取った。連絡 を取られてはまずいと思って。だけどその後、最後の惑星まではみんなで行く方針に変更したんだ。
Hmm.
そしてここまでたどり着いた。まったくすごい。僕はね、感動してるんだ。仲間と協力するとすごい力になるんだね。
But what is his
本当に。
what is his motivation?
お前はその仲間を皆殺しにしようとしたんだ。シャルス、全部話してくれ。なんでお前がこんな使命を負ってるんだ。死んでまで果たさなきゃならねえ使命ってなんだ。そんなことあってたまるか。お前は何者なんだ。
僕もクローンだよ。ただ、この中で唯一、最初から自分がクローンだと知っていた。オリジナルの名は、ノア・ピクス。ピクシア王政地区の王のクローンだ。
Hmm. Oh boy, a lot to unpack this episode, right? So, in the end, they went for the rewrite history sort of explanation for this. And you know, just as Pauline said, there is still a lot of temporal discrepancies here that just don't really make sense, right? From the beginning, from when they knew of the asteroid that was going to hit Earth until the present day, the present year, as shown, only 14 years have passed. 14 years. And if we recall back to Astra and how all the structures look like and whatnot, there's thriving cities, right? Sprawling cities. I seriously doubt that they would be able to do this, to make this kind of construction endeavors within 14 years. You have to remember, this 14 years is the maximum, right? That's when the asteroid was first discovered, and that means that they literally didn't have a chance to start even transporting people to Astra yet, because they haven't even found the suitable planet yet. So I don't know, man. 14. There's a lot of stuff that's fishy about that thing right there. And not to mention that, you know, the entire rewriting history. Okay, actually, let's focus more on this timeline thingy, right? Because we also know that for our students here, right, for our protagonists here, we saw flashbacks of their lives during the youth as well, right? And I don't think any of them mention anything particularly special or anything in regards to this. So it seems that they've lived their entire lives on Astra, right? So again, how is that possible? How there's simply not enough time within 14 years for them to do this, unless they literally, you know, they were transported to Astra without them even knowing, right? And so that doesn't make a lot of sense either. Also, if you guys recall back to the first episode, right, Ares, when she was in the spaceport, she bumped into an old lady, and they had a quick chat in regards to going to space camp, basically, going to Planet Mpa. The old lady also said that when she was young, she did this kind of trip as well to Planet Mpa, which couldn't have happened if she actually came from Earth, right? Because, you know, Mpa is literally thousands of light years away from Earth. I highly doubt that they would travel 3 months for 5 days of camp and then travel another 3 months back to Earth. So that doesn't really make sense at all. So I don't know, something's fishy there. The temporal element here definitely. No. The easiest way to think of this is perhaps the year that we currently have, 2063, is not the actual year. Like, maybe once they made this big exodus to Astra, they decided to change up the years for a little bit, so actually more time has passed, right? So it, again, kind of ties into what I was saying before, where more time has passed than Polina realized and whatnot. So it's definitely not just 12 years. Otherwise, this doesn't really make sense, right? And also, we have to take into account, like, why do they want to hide this fact, right? Is there any specific reason why they're rewriting history, or why they're not letting people know of this exodus from Earth to Astra? There has to be a reason, right? And the easiest thing that I can think of right now is perhaps the exodus was not entirely complete. And what I mean by this is that perhaps in the end, for instance, the wormhole technology was not made in time or whatnot, and so only a select few people were able to get off from Earth into Astra, and perhaps the majority of Earth people perished back on Earth. Right, so that would maybe potentially be a reason to keep this under wrap or something, because, and I base this on the fact that none of the original, right, the parents, the originals, I guess we should just call them originals now, none of them knew of this wormhole technology, right? So, what? I don't know, man. I almost feel like my favorite guess in alternate universes would still make a lot more sense, even though it's completely ridiculous than this. I don't know, man. And besides, consider this. You have to have an entire generation of people willingly not passing any knowledge of history, any knowledge of events on Earth, and then for this entire period of history to be lost. I don't know. I just find that to be incredibly implausible. Especially in this day and age with electronic records and all that. And so what can account for this kind of time discrepancy, right? Because some of you guys were also mentioning that it can't, time couldn't have passed that much because the arc which Polina was originally on, it didn't seem that too battered up or whatnot. Although, who's to say if that's the case, right? I mean, perhaps they're using some futuristic materials, so it getting into that kind of shape actually really means that hundreds of years had passed, or something like that. I don't know. And in terms of how they could be perceiving time differently, beyond maybe those on Astra deliberately changing when they start counting the years, another kind of thought that I had was, they're using old, faster-than-light technology, right? I mean, the people who were on the Ark. I don't know. Perhaps it's possible that the faster-than-light technology they were using could not affect the temporal effects of traveling faster than light. And what I mean by this is, due to relativity, the faster you're going, the closer you are to the speed of light, time slows down for you relative to everyone else, right? If you're consistently traveling at the speed of light, you would essentially travel into the future, right? That's how relativity, man, I can't pronounce relativity, right? That's how the theory of relativity works. The faster you are going, the closer you are to the speed of light, the slower time passes for you, and so you're essentially traveling into the future. So perhaps there's this kind of aspect in it as well. In the first episode, we see that in order to use faster than light technology, they had this sort of cleaving field being deployed or whatnot. And so I assume that for those on Astra who frequently do these FTL travels, perhaps they have a way of offsetting this kind of situation. Is that the same for Pauline and how she traveled here using old technology? I don't know. Perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. I'm not sure about that, right? It's just, again, food for thought in regards to all this. So anyways, the temporal difference is definitely something that has to be resolved, and they better have a good reason for this, because again, I almost feel like just explaining it away as wormholes traveling to an alternate universe might be an even easier solution to this entire mess as it is right now. So yeah, so that was in regards to this entire part, and then let's talk about the betrayal, right? The enemy, Sharis. So, again, through the last 2 episodes or so, I was getting convinced that probably Sharis is the one who had an ulterior motive, if any, and so it did manifest here, so I wasn't too surprised when they were trying to do this entire double-cross thingy. And I based my decision on this because his story is the least able to be collaborated by others, right? It's the one where nobody can really say anything in regards to it, and also because his father, or sorry, I guess not his father, his original was also one of the ones who we know the least about, right? And they weren't present for that original meeting in past episode, or is that 2 episodes back? And so, I assume that all those originals that were in that meeting probably their clones probably didn't have anything to do with it. So that narrows the list down very, very small. And so Shara's had the most plausibility out of those remaining. And so there we go, right? And here's the thing, though. So if Shars is, so again, I'm not quite sure what. I'm not gonna guess on what his ulterior motive is. Like, okay, fine, he's the clone of the king, so what? But I think like this actually raises another interesting discussion, and that is the character of Ares, right? So does his, is he telling some of the truth in terms of his past story, his backstory and whatnot, or was that completely fabricated and entirely false, right? Because Ares still, to this point, remains the odd one out, right? All the others have their problems with their parents, aka originals. Ares is the only one who doesn't have this kind of problem. So again, she's the odd one out. Why was she selected to be here? Does she have any special background that we don't know about, that she doesn't know about herself, right? So we potentially open up her situation back up again, that she might be someone special, right? So there, and actually that also kind of factored into me deciding that Sharos was the culprit, because it would, if we only got his original backstory in regards to Ares, then that also kind of didn't make sense as well. Okay, so we talked about stuff in regards to Earth versus Astra, and now we talk about who was the enemy and it was Shars and whatnot. The real question is, how are these two things related with each other, right? Because I'm fairly sure that this is not going to be a case where they're individual events, right? They have to be related to each other in some kind of way. So the thing is, I actually really have no clue right now as to how these two could be related. Unless, I don't know, the entire population of Astra are clones or something like that. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, man. I really don't know. But I am looking forward to find out. And we're going to find out quick, right? Because we have literally 2 episodes left. 2 episodes. I don't know if the final episode they're going to do like another special, a special length episode or whatnot, but they got a lot of explaining to do within 2 episodes. So I hope for the anime's sake that they actually say everything they need to say and make sure all the loose ends are tied up. So there we go. That was Astra Lost in Space, episode 10. Let me know if you guys had your minds blown with this episode, or if you also have, like me, have a lot of question marks in regards to where they're actually going with this, right? And things that you want explained as well. I mentioned some things that I want to explain. If you guys have anything else to add, feel free to comment as well. I'd like to know your thoughts. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Until then, bye-bye.